The following is a presentation of the Control Trends Podcasting Network.
Here we go. All right, here we go. All right, 1, 2, 3, go. Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to episode 309 of Control Talk Now, the Smart Buildings Videocast and Podcast for the week ending March 31st, 2019. And why is March 31st so significant? Because it's this baby boy's birthday right here. This is Axel Bink Stromquist, and say, happy birthday, everybody.
Happy birthday, Axel.
And Kenny just said happy birthday to you. So with that, just say, hey, and please welcome to the show, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers. You want 2 stars? Say Kenny Smyers. All right, 3 stars. Say Kenny Smyers. 4 stars.
Yeah,
4 stars. Do it right. Go. The man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers.
That's a lot.
The one that had a candy found it inside the candy.
Smyers. Okay, hang on. Evelyn, come in here and try it real quick. All right, bye, Axel.
Thanks, Axel.
Here you go. Here comes my other daughter here real quick. All right, Evelyn, you got to do the one, the only, Kenny Smyers.
The one that only Gary smiles.
There you go. Well done. Your host of mine, the control man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show, Big Dog.
Well, thank you, Eric. It's awesome to be serenaded by the youngsters there. Congratulations, Axel. How old is he?
He's turning 4. He is 4. Yeah.
All righty.
So he's grown up. Evelyn Grace is 6, and man, they're keeping me young, Kenny. What can I say?
Man, that's a handful. Those 2 are a handful. I know that personally. And yeah, you look younger every time I see Eric. So maybe Ken Sinclair is learning to be younger. He's getting young mentors, surrounding himself with all kinds of smart young people, and keeping himself, current, relevant. And so are you. So that's good.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Big Dog.
I got a granddaughter out there, so she's.
You do. Your granddaughter is something else. I see pictures of her on Instagram all the time, and boy, is she cute.
Oh my gosh! I can show you a video here that it'll make you start laughing. I'll get this teed up.
You little leprechaun? Yeah. You my little leprechaun?
Alrighty.
All right, man. So cool. Well, Kenny, man, big week. I know you stay busy. I stay busy, man. Lots going on in the business world. I think anybody in our industry knows that it's kind of like business is just falling out of the sky, man. It's like, how many buckets can you pick up? Everybody's scrambling to get the jobs done and keep up with it. It's keeping us busy. It's a good thing. It'll probably not last forever, but hey, while it's happening, let's enjoy it, right?
I think you're absolutely right. I think we've come to an intersection where some of the hard work, the pioneer work, the planting of the seeds, so to speak, and then technology is finally coming into the various modular levels that are affordable, they're understandable, and they're the ease of installation. And so I think it's a good time economically too. There's money is available. I know. When you talk primarily about HVAC and building automation, you go into certain markets like the MUSH markets, municipalities, universities, schools, hospitals, the commercial real estate, and the GSA. But the truth of the matter is that we've done a lot of due diligence on this, and we've proven without question that if you take steps, you fix your worst problem first with the technology, and we've had some amazing products come to being. EasyIO came out with the FG32. I think that was one of the mainstays. Then you had the Honeywell LCBS Connect. Then you had the Johnson Controls Verisys. And you got LinkSpring coming out with the 534. You have the Edge 10 device series coming out from Tritium Vicon. And so all the major manufacturers and vendors out there that provide solutions have taken some of the major product platform and scaled it down so that it can meet the markets that need it the worst, and that's those 50,000 square feet and below. And so, as you know, we keep track of DOE, and they tell us that there's about 75% to 80% of the buildings out there that still need some love and care and some building automation. So,
See, and I think what's going to happen with that, and again, at Control Talk, we try to give you control news you can use. So I think if you're planning your strategy now, it's like when the stuff's falling out of the sky, your strategy now needs to be just how can we capture that business and take it and make money on it. But you will remember this conversation where the man, the myth, the legend told you that 70% of those smaller buildings don't have anything in them. So when the economy dries up, you can put together a strategy and go after that. And of course, we've got so many great products. Companies are coming out with products to address that segment of the market. Everything from Veris, as Kenny talked about, to Honeywell, to you look at EasyIO, it's great for that race to the small space. You've got LinkSpring has a great offering, a bunch of them. Speaking of LinkSpring, Kenny, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to throw Optergy in there, Loytech. I mean, we're seeing Prolon. We're seeing a lot more. So I was going to do, hey, Eric, one more time. Could you do that thing you did there about you were catching things falling from the sky? Because you reminded me of somebody. You reminded me of Julio Jones. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Oops, dropped it.
Manna from heaven, baby.
Yeah, manna from heaven for sure. Well, listen, man, we got a great show this week. Let's go ahead and get our first guest on, and then we'll take care of some business after we get him on. So how about introducing him, Kenny?
Sounds great.
It's the first of the month, and you know what that means.
I sure do, Eric. It means that Ken Sinclair and Automated Buildings have come up with another fabulous edition. We are going to be bringing Ken Sinclair, owner-editor of Automated Buildings, onto the show. Welcome to the show, Ken, and tell us about your April edition.
Welcome, Ken.
Thank you very much. Really pleased to be on Control Trends. Our April Fool's issue is going to come online April 1st, but we all got fooled in the fact that I wrote an article for Connected Contractor that basically linked to the bulk of the articles. And it was supposed to come out on Thursday, and surprise, it came out on Wednesday. So it left us scrambling to make sure that all the links were as neat as they could be. So we had a release then, and we're in a situation that we can kind of release that side of it. And I gave you a little piece of artwork and an actual article that you can link to that'll take you to most of the cybersecurities. So where this all came from is Anto came to me, and he had done quite a successful cybersecurity session at AHR Atlanta. He asked me what he should do, and I said, it's way too late, don't even try and do it. But he ignored me and cobbled it together. It ended up being at 7 o'clock in the morning. Which actually turned out to be a blessing, because everybody who came to the cybersecurity session actually made it. Anybody who waited to come on the bus was stuck on the freeways and missed most of our other sessions. So it worked out really well. Anyway, from that, that was sort of the first gathering of a lot of cybersecurity folks. And he suggested that we do an issue, and we chose April as the month to do that issue. And I'm extremely pleased. It makes you realize the giants that we actually work with in the industry. And if you just flip through their articles, I got to admit, I just learned a whole bunch about cybersecurity. I've always been kind of concerned about it, that cybersecurity has the potential of immobilizing us. And I feel better about that now. They all seem, amazingly enough, although there's 5, 6, 7 articles all coming at it from different directions, they actually have mostly all embraced NIST's framework, which is great. So we have some commonality. I just learned a whole lot of stuff, and I think it's going to be a great resource for our industry. And I think also it's going to be useful for other industries, and it kind of gets our message out to cybersecurity as general. It maybe identifies us more as IT thinking people and helps with that transition we all have to make.
Well, really nice job on it, Ken. And I think this is the edition that you want to print out and save, because I think this is going to be something that you can use for some time to come. But anyway, Kenny, I'm sorry for interrupting there, buddy.
No, that's great. That's what may wedge in on that is the Mark made that comment. He said, "Yeah, this is looking good. We should make this into an e-magazine." And really the issue, the way we index everything in automated buildings is we never throw anything away. We have our very first issue is still online from 20 years ago.
Nice.
So this issue, this April cybersecurity issue, will be online for now for as long as I chug on. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later in the show.
Well, hang on real quick, Kenny. I got to say one more thing because we got April Fool's coming up. Ken, I got an April Fool's joke you should play on the community. So on April 1st, you should publish republish that one from 20 years ago just for the day. And just to see how many people pick up on it. Then you can put the other one back on.
Yeah, that's right. Believe it or not, most of the words are bang on. We haven't really achieved much. We've been talking about a lot of this stuff for a long time. It's it's actually pretty bad. Actually, some of it is, I've actually been doing that in a lot of my writings. I've been picking something from 20, 15 years ago, and it reads great.
Well, Ken, I think that shows that you were precocious back 20 years ago. I think you were one of those first minds in the business that really and truly took, began to document and archive what is likely to come and why it's necessary. Why you gave us good foundation, and so you gave us where we're at now, where we're going, and where we're going to be. But the way you started off the April edition was you said that I've avoided discussion in the past, cybersecurity, understanding and highlighting the potential security and privacy concerns could paralyze us. For 20 years, we have operated in the Wild West manner. And I think, that's exactly right. And I think within this last 2 years, maybe, or year for sure, the compression of seriousness, the regard now, the adoption, everybody knows they're responsible. There's a co-effort. We need to cooperate and collaborate to get things done quickly with cybersecurity. But I mean, just kind of in your mind, when you think back, like with BACnet, for instance, we really didn't have that threat. So, I mean, it could have been the Wild West. It could be, we were naive. But again, the world was different then. And I think some of our protocols and stuff. So what's your thoughts on, did you ever have an idea that somebody would penetrate your BACnet network 20 years ago?
Yeah, I think we were safer back in those days, 20 years ago, because I think the problem came is when we started to depend heavily on the internet, and we started to develop web controllers, and all of our devices started to have IP addresses. So what happened is we kind of walked across the floor and we became IT people, but not really identifying ourselves and educating ourselves as IT people. When you talk to somebody like Scott Cochran, he understands that real clear, and he's all of his new folks he's hiring are coming from an IT orientation. And I think that's kind of where we're at. I think that's how we kind of created a mess by just, we took the quickest way. And I think it was necessary because we needed to prove to our industry that this IT was serious stuff. Even doing it badly, it was amazing what we could do. So now I think we just have to back up a little bit and clean it up. But my comment is we have really achieved a lot, and this whole systems, you were talking earlier in about EasyIO's session in Amsterdam, and EasyIO is one of the companies that was quick to basically move into an IoT environment and actually almost leave our, so I would flag them as one of the leaders in this. But now we have to kind of go back and take a look at what IoT rules are doing. How are we going to make all of this stuff safe? In that, I have a tremendous concern that if we make too many fences, we're going to be the people behind the fences. It gets too complicated. And so we have to kind of keep that clear. And I was just extremely pleased with all these talented cybersecurity experts that wrote for us. It kind of reads like the who's who of cybersecurity for our industry, and that they all are focused on the NIST model of cybersecurity, and basically identifying the 5 components of that. And so that's just a great. I'm feeling a whole lot better. My concern got answered in the article, and actually then at the end of it, I just added some stuff just a few minutes ago. That's the trouble with my articles. You think you finished reading them, and then I add another paragraph.
Nice.
And I added a paragraph about the Charter of Trust that Siemens is working with, and the Europeans are sort of way ahead of us. Although I'm very concerned that they could fence themselves in as you start to protect our human rights and protect our products. Every time you put protection around something, it makes it less flexible and less usable. So they're two opposing forces that we have to kind of deal with.
Well, Ken, give me an example of being fenced in, because you use that term twice, and I get it sort of on an intuitive level, but could you give me a for example?
A for example of which?
What, being fencing yourself in with
I see. Well, just that the thing is so secure. Like the simplest thing is that you have to sign on to everything.
Yeah.
And if I had to sign on to Comfy every time I wanted to use it, that would make it useless.
Gotcha.
And if I had to every time I went into a building, if I have to give permission so they can use my Bluetooth beacon,
right,
it just immobilizes us.
So the whole
idea of the technology gets stopped with
right. To use a term that you use, you would just create so much friction that you wouldn't want to use it anymore.
That's right, and I think there's that potential exists. So I think we have to always be, but what is the reality of it? I have no problem with sort of limiting the amount of information that can be taken off of an iPhone or off a mobile phone, but the proper manner would be is that it would stop you at the door and say that, it's the whole thing with every website now that's warning you that it's using cookies, and you can't move on the website unless you click on it that you accept it to use cookies. So it's like, do I really need that message? If I want to use
or they make you change your password every time you log on, and you can't keep up with your passwords. I'm locked out of so many of my sites for that very reason. Then I can't remember the password because it made me change it, and then I do 3 times, and then I got to do this massive reset, and then I got to come up with another password, and then I just go, okay, I'm not going to be on Facebook anymore. Forget it.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm running that same thing. The other thing I've done is I just given up remembering my passwords, and I actually, every time I sign on, I have it send me a new password.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It's just simpler.
Yeah.
And actually, for some of it, maybe they've achieved their goal, because maybe that's the most useful. Did you change your password? I had to get it on because I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to fix that one day, I think. And then you have that big trust. You got different people like Google and Microsoft. They'll remember all your passwords for you. And
Yeah,
then
that's right.
then they get hit and they get cracked.
And bank accounts and the sites you go to.
But Ken, I thought you came up with another one. I want to make this. This might be the theme when we write something about it. Is you said that we all have taken the path of least IT resistance. I think that's exactly right. I mean, we all did just what you had to do. I remember in the early days, we asked for 2 ports. You get me on the network, and you worry about it. And and if I create a problem for you, I didn't mean it. Whatever. So, but now, yeah, but yeah, I mean, you said too that the who's who of cybersecurity from our building automation and HVAC industry. You're absolutely right. I go through this, the names here, and I missed Fred Gordy the first time because I thought initially he's like right up at the top. That you have Anto, you got James Lee, you have Fred Gordy, you have Mark Peacock, you have Tree Sullivan, you have Kevin Smith from CTO from Trinity. I mean, how did you get all these people involved so quickly that you could put this together in a monthly edition? I mean, this is a lot of networking.
Well, I got to, Anto helped a lot, but as I mentioned, a lot of it springboarded off of the cybersecurity session in Atlanta.
I see.
And actually that whole session is on the New Deal site. Actually, as much information as there is on the surface, there's 2 documents. There's a report I wrote to try and put pictures and English subtitles to all of their complex articles, and then link to their articles, sort of give you some, so you can merge and get up to ramp speed, trying to get your mind around all of this. And then secondly, Anto and I did a discussion, just it's like an interview, but we did it in the form of an article, and we basically talk and link to each one of their things and sort of talk about the evolution. And of course, this will also get fed back on the New Deal website that Anto maintains as well. Symmetrics has been a real supporter of this. And the other one you missed, the other two more famous people are James Butler. Basically talks about the new BACnet Secure, I believe it's called, and Pu King of Optical.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did. Yeah, I missed Pook, Ping Yao, and then I missed Deb Noller and Jim Butler. Sorry about that. But I just
but it's an incredible lineup. You're quite right. I too was impressed, and I think what happened is once they found out that somebody was writing, it was easy when I reached out to them and told them this was our cybersecurity issue, and we had some pretty good traction. Then I think they wanted to be part of it. They wanted to be identified as part of the solution. But the amount of information there is just phenomenal, because you click on any one of those industry experts, you get down to their site, and then they give you their links, and then their links give you more links. So from this, I'm really proud that from this one page or this interview, you can probably
go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, you could read for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
but
that's great.
The good news is when you start reading it, there starts to be some common themes and some common cautions, and it's not like everybody saying, do it my way. And that's what the holistic cybersecurity is that we've got to do this as a group. We've got to do this as a community of practice. And of course, that was our last thrust, and it fits really well into this. And in fact, at the end of the article, we actually identify a whole bunch of communities of practice that are
active,
that are evolving for cybersecurity.
Right. No, I like that concept. Was that a Therese Sullivan concept?
Yeah, actually, that Atlanta was pretty significant for us. We're still talking about it. We did it was called the evolution of automation from Ethernet to Emotion.
Right.
I think it was our session, and we basically went back and we talked about the overview that we had prepared. And actually, this is going to be part of my keynote at ControlCon. Is that so? I've been 50 years in the industry. 20 years of that is automated building. And so what does the old guy see? Well, what the old guy sees is that we went through a whole lot of technologies on our way from pneumatics to AI, but the only constant is the people. I mean, there's Petsy's there in the beginning, and he's still there in the end. And Lee's there in the beginning of BACnet. I met James Lee in San Francisco, and the first BACnet integration with Train, that got to be 30 years ago or something like that. All of this stuff has radically changed, but these people are still there. And the people and their communities of practice are what kind of keeps us moving forward. So I'm kind of intrigued by that. And of course, the events that are coming up, we're all kind of part of, and they become our community of practice events. And certainly that's ControlCon is certainly one of those events. The next one that I actually use as an example in that article is Haystack, because Haystack grew, and you guys were there in the beginning. You saw how it grew, and you saw where it's grown to today, and it is certainly a community of practice. When you actually attach yourself to these communities of practice, there's so much information and so much resource. because there's very talented people and we're all working on a common theme. And the other thing that comes is communities of practice beget communities of practice, because once you start working with this, we've got an absolutely new field, maybe like camera AI or something like that, that we're moving into. We don't really know anything about it. The fastest way we can get from 0 to highway speed is how along the ramp is basically catch on to a community of practice and join them and basically lurk for a while, find out what the heck they're talking about, and then eventually we get up to merge speed and we can actually drive along the highway with them.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's, yeah, it makes so much sense, Ken. I don't think anybody's going to go it alone. And this sort of gets back to a concept that either you or Kenny coined about the co-competition or whatever it is.
Co-opetition.
Yeah.
Competition, yeah.
Ken, I love that analogy. That is a hell of an analogy. Oh, good, Eric. I'm just
no. Which analogy? Which one?
About getting on the ramp. In other words,
yeah.
And it's we've always said that it's for our community and for the building automation world and HVAC. I remember you, Eric, and I were down with Mark Peacock. We said, where do we go? What's our course of action? And Fred Gordy came out of he was the champion, and he was working with Billy Rios. Remember?
Billy the Kid Rios, yeah.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, it just started rolling. This big wheel started taking roll, and now looking at this litany, this faculty, again. Deb Noller, Jim Butler, Poke Ping Yao, Mark Peacock, Tree Sullivan, Kevin T. Smith, Fred Gordy, Anto Biagio, and James Lee. I mean, now we've got a faculty, and then use that with NIST, and we've got real great direction now. We've gone from having little, kind of guidance, and what do we tell people? Remember the checklist we hung up on the refrigerator with Fred Gordy?
Right.
We put his 10 best things to start a cybersecurity plan, get an internal champion, et cetera, et cetera. But then, so it's really good to see that what you said with the ramp to the highway. In other words, we got people onto that they can finally get onto a ramp and start learning, like you say, and put things into context, decipher it, filter it for themselves and their organizations or whomever, their businesses, and then, keep at it to the point where you can get onto the rampway and merge onto the highway and be comfortable and be professionally, competent in cybersecurity. I think it's a great analogy, and I think you had a lot to do with it, Ken. So applaud.
Actually, Scott Cochran and I have been fooling around with it as well, and my comment to him is I was appreciating what Scott was doing for me, because he's pushing me along the merge ramp, and he wants me to get up to speed before I hit this conference, so I don't become roadkill.
Nice.
But they were very polite. They redefined me as the road warrior.
Nice instead of the roadkill. I like it. Well, did you guys ever hear of a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so what it reminds me of, Ken, and I'm rereading the book is because he interviewed Andrew Carnegie and all these people, and the successful traits of people that are successful in the top in their field. And one commonality they had is they all had a mastermind group of like-minded people that they would bounce ideas off of each other. And part of Carnegie's thing was that no mind, no matter how good it is, can capture and understand fully. So, it's almost like these centers of practice are also running a lot of Carnegie's mastermind groups.
Yeah, I think so. Very, very much so. It's a way we organize our life. It's kind of funny that when Therese, definitely, I would have to credit her to basically putting the words around the community of practice, and then she went digging back into the history of how that kind of came to play, and then she put it in one of her articles, and then I've rewritten a whole bunch of other stuff on that. And you're quite right. It does come right from the from motivation, and but it's just a quick way. And it's certainly, if you want to learn about anything, if you want to learn about video equipment, I'm sure you belong to some communities of practice for video equipment.
Exactly.
It's and especially with the internet, it's just so prevalent and everywhere, so we can actually get this information. The other thing we've identified is, in talking to my young guns, my young editors, is we floated out the question is, how did you get so smart? and they all came from various backgrounds. But how they got smart was they basically educated themselves, and they learned what they needed to learn. And that's really the model that our whole industry is evolving on. It's just so broad that nobody can tell you what you need to know. You just have to pick a thread of it.
Wow.
And then
I want to hop on real quick with that because, I think, you and I both have this concept of, take a millennial to lunch or whatever. And, I've got two mentors, one of them who's in his 70s and one of them who's in his late 20s. And, we've heard in manufacturing terms, I'm throwing this out primarily for, our manufacturers who are trying to train and get traction with people with their products. But, we've heard just-in-time manufacturing, right, where you just build it at the last second. But what this cat's about and what the millennials are about is called just-in-time learning. In other words, if you give them a manual, they're not going to start at chapter 1 and go all the way through. They're going to hop in where they want to hop in, and then they'll go around it however they do it. So, and I think in a way that's a lot better. I think they can get up to speed a lot faster, and they're willing to make mistakes along the way. But for guys like me and you and Kenny, it's like, no, you start on page 1 and.
Well, you know what, Eric, your point, it's so true. In other words, and we're seeing this, I took a look at some of the new education going on in public schools and grade schools, and we're not, young students are not learning how to write cursive anymore, and how it's been antiquated, and how it's a barrier to learning, not an enhancement to learning. But if you talked about the community of practice, Ken, you had an initiative back when you were doing your collaboratoriums that was kind of, you were creating that
Yes.
that exact community of practitioners that were the experts. And then to your point, Eric, you're absolutely right. Just-in-time learning. In fact, remember, Ken, you did the didactic. You were talking. You were the first person I read the didactic. I said
I shouldn't use words I can't say.
But the point, So you said that what's going to happen is we need to put all this stuff into some sort of forum that's available, and it has the archives from A to Z, and then let anybody that wants to learn really quickly can enter any part of that 20-year swing that you put onto your website and pull down meaning from it, and just learn what they need to learn to get by the next thing. And Eric, remember we did that thing with the wearable technologies, how they said it's the only way they're going to keep, to produce, results in the medical fields and the gas and oil fields. And now we're going to see it in, building automation, is you're going to have a home base, and the rest is going to be camera, and somebody at the site's going to be they're going to say, turn the wrench to the right, 3/4 turn. Yep, good, stop. Okay. What's the pressure reading again? Show me, so that's the way the world's going to work, because you won't have the luxury of time.
It's so much more efficient, right?
Yeah, you won't have the luxury of time.
It really is efficient. Yeah.
You can't get a semester's worth of learning anymore, so you can't read the preface and the epilogue. You got to just get to page 38 where it tells you how to tie your shoe.
But the point of it, the internet has made knowledge very democratic, and it's not for the few. It's for anybody that wants to learn can learn, which is the really exciting thing about it.
Sure.
And so for our community out there who thought cybersecurity was out of your purview, Ken Sinclair begs to differ with you. Just go to his April edition and you can be a cybersecurity cop like Billy the Kid Rios or Fred Bordy.
Good stuff. Okay, the other thing I think we have to look at is we have to look at Control Trends is definitely a community of practice, and your company as well, Kenneth. And automated buildings is a community of practice. And it's interesting that you go into these communities of practice, and then inside of each community of practice is a unique one, such as Haystack is inside of that. And inside a Haystack is Sandstar community. So all these little communities are the mosaic that build us. And if you want to get going fast, you have to go to the community that you need to interface with to do whatever it is you want. Once you get to that community, because they're all online, the other thing you didn't mention about how the young folks learn is that they can just send out a blog message, and they just ask. They just say, I'm trying to do this. I've read, they always have the politeness that they've read through everything the community has talked about, and somebody said this, they'll even pick up on a piece of that and said, I need more information about that. And you'll be unbelievable. The whole community jumps in and helps them. They're very collaborative. I think we grew up in a time where we kind of we had to do it on our own, and we were proud of that.
Machiavelli.
But Ken, I'm going to take another step out of it. It was a competitive advantage to know something somebody else didn't know. The internet changed that, so the youngsters that are coming along,
Good point.
why hoard information? But back in the day, I mean, if you knew how to calibrate something somebody else didn't, that was your differentiator in business. But knowledge now is, I keep saying democratic. Kenny, give me the vocabulary word for it, Kenny. That where it's
Ubiquitous or
no, it's not for.
I think
not
I've
for
heard the
leading.
democracy of what we're doing is basically it's
utilitarianism. I know what you're saying, Eric. I'll think of it in a second. So let me wait. But you're just saying
knowledge is no longer elitist.
Right. Well, you and I went to Scotland at one time, and that's where it really hit me the hardest. I mean, where the way the cat gets out of the bag in the printing press, and when they said that the rich benefactor for Edinburgh said, "I'm going to make everybody learn how to read," and he paid for it, and then suddenly children were learning how to read and write. And it went backwards on them. Instead of reading right the Bible, they became political. They became politically unrested. And
right,
but
to your point, the printing press changed everything because certain people had knowledge, and so I think that was step one. Step two was probably the internet, right? I mean,
well, I think that's the analogy I was trying to make is that the internet was designed for certain things, and all these processional items, your word procession, we have no idea where it's going to go. In fact, I was reading an article the other day about Apple and some of the other people. They're thinking they've gone to met with the president, and they're talking about reorganizing the United States' approach to education because we're falling so far behind the world because we're playing all these. Our education process leads to a dead end. It doesn't lead to fomenting exciting people, and they want people to Apple executives were explaining if you let these kids play with technology and they take a technological path, they're not going to be interested in geography or history. They're going to be their aptitude says let me play with this stuff and learn how to program. So the whole thing is to how do we get more programmers and how do we get that step, the sciences, the technologies, how do we get people involved in it anymore like they did back in the 50s when we were having the space race. All of a sudden we produced massive amounts of engineers, mathematicians, physics, PhDs in physics and just, because the educational process drove in that direction. It led to outcomes that were producing more engineers. So we're seeing this come up, our whole orthodox approach towards education is being reevaluated.
What about in Canada, Ken? Is the educational system really geared up towards a sort of technological revolution like, Ken suggests, and we're not necessarily doing in the States?
Yeah, I'm not aware of what's going on in the States, but I'm actually reasonably close to like local school because we've got a granddaughter. It's grade 6, and yeah, they use the web a lot. Basically, what's going on is on the school. There's a class website, and basically what's going on, who's doing well, what events are coming up. That's all documented. But to Ken's remark, I wanted to just say that when we started into this industry, you guys probably had a better idea than anybody because your fathers were in the industry, so you followed your fathers in. But for a guy like me, I mean, I'm on the farm, and it's pretty hard to imagine what I'm going to be when I grow up. And it also, information is very hard to come by. And to try and discover your passion, it just sort of has to evolve. And you basically, the first job you took had a lot to do with where you ended up working. Now we have this situation that you can spend hours, days, years surfing the web, and you can find something that is incredibly intriguing to you. And then you say, I'd want to be one of those guys. And then you start learning that from the community of practice. So it's kind of that thing has been completely reversed. If you think about when we came into the market, what are we going to do? Now the kids they've all got a good idea what they want to do because they saw something on a YouTube that looked pretty fun.
Well said, Ken. Well said. So tell us some more. Let's talk about ControlsCon for a minute, because you're going to be a keynote speaker up there. Would you be giving it away if you tell us what you're going to talk about, or and for our community who might not know what ControlsCon is and why they should go, how about giving the sort of the Canadian elevator speech, if you will?
Okay. Okay, Scotty involved me in this, and I frankly, I got to admit that when he asked me, it was like, "You sure you want me?" You know, because it's a systems integrators meeting is the gist of it, and every time I talk to these systems integrators, they're doing more than I'm writing about. I have this perception that I'm on the leading bleeding edge, and every time I talk to someone like Jason Huck, I'll I find out a whole bunch of stuff they're actually doing that I haven't even thought of or haven't wrote about. So I was wondering what I was doing there to get up to speed. So I think what I'm doing there is to just maybe explain the perception of time, and just the whole 50 years in the industry, actually seeing an industry go from pneumatics to AI, and just seeing all of the people part of it. I think the other message is that we're all struggling right now to extend our best buy date, because the technology is changing so fast we become obsolete in moments. And my only defense for that is to basically grow younger. And I found out how to do that. And how to grow younger is basically to look at all of our problems and stuff through the minds of our young mentors, and who have grown up as digital natives. So I think that's sort of the gist of the message, is to try and do that. The other one that is I'm coming around to is the fact that there are a tremendous amount of women in the wings in our industry who have basically been personal assistants for powerful people, and they have an amazing amount of information in their minds, and some of them don't want to be mainstream, but that doesn't matter, because they can be very useful remote. So my reach out or my shout out is this is a potential for our industry. Probably within your companies, you have exactly the same thing. There's somebody who's been quietly sitting over there in the corner and has been, organizing all these products and stuff like that. They have a tremendous amount of information, and they can actually be very quickly unleashed in a AI or a machine learning type of environment, and they can be very quickly get us up to speed. So I think we're all looking for how can we get new people into the industry. So those younger mentors combined with our younger mentors, and the other comment I always make is, anytime I talk to my younger mentors, their comment back is, they say, "You should see what these kids are doing." I love it, because they're looking at the next generation, and these are kids. I don't know. I call them digital natives. I don't know what these other ones are like.
Digital,
maybe digital immigrants. Let's call them that. Digital immigrants. They basically come from a world that they don't know. They don't know reality. They've never experienced reality. They've only.
I got a funny story I got to tell you real quick. Yesterday, I'm driving home from the office. Coming home, and it's Friday, and Fridays are my favorite day. So I think, other than Saturdays. But anyhow, the phone rings. It's my daughter calling from San Diego, I think. So I hit the button. Hello, hello, hello. Nothing's there. I can hear noise in the background, and I'm like, what the heck, So I get a little concerned. So I hang up. I call her back, and by then she regained control of her phone. Her 5-month-old daughter, my granddaughter, apparently picked up her phone. Or not even really picked it up. She said they hold the phone to her, and we do so many of these WhatsApp videos, and we get to see incredible and so the technology, I'm like you, I love every day that there's something new going on, because I still can't, I pinch myself to think of how crazy this iPhone is, and how it to talk to Germany and not pay for it, and to send a video where an FT to take, or to shoot it live. It's just we got to do more of it, but a 5-month-old tapping the phone because she's been they put it in front of her all the time to show, the grandparents in Pittsburgh what's going on. So they do a video. So she's so used to that phone being part of her environment that she's like in front of a phone. And then we reverse it so she can see what we look like. And we keep saying the same thing to her that she can recognize our voices. So to your point about the digital native, I mean, we have no idea that somebody as an infant learning about technology and playing with technology and not reaching for things that they don't have to reach for, like Martin said in the interview, people don't want to get out of their chairs anymore to run over to the thermostat and turn it up or down or turn the fan up a speed or whatever, or to dim the lights or to close the blinds. I mean, why should they? They want to just hit their phone and say, boom, up, down, colder, warmer, whatever. I mean, and to have that mentality when you come into your workplace and to see where we're, the state of affairs. And one more thing, Ken, I loved you said about the best buy, best sold by, and the shelf life. So where do we sit in the scheme of things? We're like the canned goods up on top of a shelf. Is
inspired?
Yeah. Don't eat.
Don't drink this milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a kick out of that. Anyhow.
Well, yeah, I think I'm going to title my keynote is the next 50 years. So as you can imagine, that might be a stretch for me, but
not for you, Ken. It might be a stretch for some people, but not for you.
But anyway, back to the other comment about how the digital natives or the digital immigrants. I think I like that. I think we should call these the next wave. We got the digital natives that are pretty comfortable with all this technology, but the digital immigrants are these kids that are coming up now that they've never lived in a real world. They've only lived in a virtual world. Anyway, when they looked at your problem of raising the blind, I mean, the first thing they say, well, can't I just talk to my WhatsApp and say, WhatsApp, blind 50%? And it knows by where I am that happens, like, why wouldn't you just do that? Like they jump over all of this stuff. They don't.
Hey, Ken, the newer group is not the digital immigrants. They're digitally entitled. They're like the digital trust fund babies.
But Ken, to your point, I mean, the more we learn about it in our realm, the other day I had to convert a bunch of Celsius to Fahrenheit, and I did the old 9/5, and I'm thinking, what am I doing? So I just said, hey Siri, what's 50 degrees centigrade, for the set points, whatever. Boom. I mean, it just came right back to me, told me the degrees, 120 degrees or whatever it was, and I thought, or 170, whatever, and I'm thinking, why is my brain not letting me access and avail all this technology? Why am I so, determined to do it the hard way? And I think it's just conditioning. So to your younger mentorship and having somebody on board, like you were saying, Eric, it's just to remind you that you don't have to do it the old school way, that there's a option, and the option might save you a lot of time, a lot of energy, that you can get more done more efficiently. So that's kind of cool.
And well, the kid's taking a picture of everything, eh? Like you'll be writing down a number or something. If you saw something you want to buy or something on a thing, and they look at you and they go click.
You've been clicked. Yeah.
Why would you write that down? Why would you do anything? And of course, the other thing is, I got a good story about that. We were lost in the train station in Rome, and our ride was trying to find us. And that's what he said. He said, just hold your phone up and take a picture of where you are, and then I'll know where you are. And you're on the other side of the terminal, he said, as soon as we send him a picture. So basically he's on WhatsApp, and we click, there's a picture, and then he knew where we were, because our English or our Italian wasn't that good, but a picture's worth 1,000 words.
I like that.
You're on the other side. You're not on the right side. He says, I'm just going to park my car and I'm going to come and get you.
Nice.
Great.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wish we'd thought of that when we were in Rome. I'm probably at that same spot you were, Ken, and I didn't want to go there. But
well, you were carrying stuff. You had a baby buggy car seat. What else did you have? I saw the picture of that. I'm glad I didn't have to do that.
Oh man, I tell you what, Ken, it almost killed me with the traveling with the small kids, and my wife's brother had a destination wedding, and on top of that was black tie. And there was an extra suitcase to carry all the black tie stuff. And dude, it was nuts carrying that luggage around. But anyway, I survived. I'm better for it. As Nietzsche said, what your wife does doesn't kill you will make you better.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Ken. So we'll see you at Haystack. We will see you obviously at Cochrane. The April issue is out, automatedbuildings.com. You definitely want to check that out. What else you got before we hop off here, my friend?
Well, I guess we'll all have to put our Elvis costumes on and go to Realcomm in Nashville, eh? So
Absolutely. You're going to be down there for sure, right? So
yeah, I wasn't going to, but Scotty talked me into it. So
oh man, I'm so glad you're going to do it.
Well,
I'll never forget
Scotty
the
made
time.
me do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget the time. It was so much fun. Hopefully, you'll do this with us again. I think the last one I saw you at was maybe San Antonio. But remember, you and me and Therese and Kenny, we'd always do our day 1, day 2 recap. So
yeah, okay.
So we count you on to being a recapper with us.
Sure, that sounds good. Yeah, it looks like a lot of stuff going on there as well. Actually, I in my never-ending article, I also tagged on their cybersecurity day before event that's going on as well, because I thought that was kind of fit in well with this whole cybersecurity resource. I'm trying to put this thing as just a link to where everything that's sort of happening in the industry. And at the bottom of that is I've got these 3 events we've just talked about as well. So,
Hey, I'm going to say one more thing before I forget. ControlTrans, for anybody out there that's still has not yet signed up for ControlsCon 2019, it's May 2nd, May 3rd in Detroit at the Motor City Casino. We have a 10% discount. If you go on now to the website and you register and you put in ControlTrans under the discount code, you get a 10% discount. And also with Realcomm, IBCOM 2014, June 11th through the 14th down there in Nashville, Tennessee. We also have a ControlTrans discount, 10%. And you just, when you register, you put it in and it gives you, actually you have to go to our website and get the discount code. So I'm sorry, it's not ControlTrans. It is the ControlTrans discount, but there's a number, a little code you put in there and it'll save you 10%. So you want to put
Good
that plug in there.
Excellent. All right, Ken Sinclair, automatedbuildings.com. Check it out. Ken, thanks so much as always, man. We can't wait to see you next month. And if you have something in between now and then, don't be a stranger.
okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
See you, Ken.
Awesome. Great stuff from Ken Sinclair as always. And hey, man, we didn't even talk about all those other great articles that are on automatedbuildings.com. So be sure to go to check out automatedbuildings.com, the April issue, because there's a ton of other stuff on there. And man, speaking of phenomenal stuff, our man, Mark Peacock, in addition to being the master of ceremonies of the ControlTrans Awards, in addition to being the guy that broke Cindy Crawford's heart in New York City back in the day in New York City when he got started in advertising, now he and the team at LinkSpring have been acknowledged by Frost and Sullivan. Kenny, I got to get this right, so I'm going to read it. 2019 Global IoT and Smart Buildings Customer Value Leadership Award. Way to go, Terry Swope. Way to go, Bob Mealy. Way to go, Mark Peacock. Way to go, everybody at LinkSpring. Great group of guys. It's nice to see that Frost and Sullivan is acknowledging them.
Congratulations. Yeah, it's the LinkSpring's E2E platform provides exceptional service delivery and value enhancements through a well-synchronized suite of solutions to ensure timely integration with a smart building infrastructure. And it has earned its stripes. And congratulations to a very successful team with a lot of motivation, a lot of passion, a lot of initiative. So they basically took that product platform from over here, kind of in an obscure location, to a front vendor position, and it's people are asking for it now. So
and listen, for our young guns who might not know, when we talk about Cindy Crawford and Mark in the 80s, there was an era of the supermodel. Cindy Crawford, Linda Evangelisi, Naomi Campbell, and all that. And speaking of that, I just there's a text on the Facebook Messenger here from a C. Crawford going, although I'm married now, hey, Mark, it's me, Cindy, holler, whatever that means. So, Mark, you'll just do with that what you'll do with it. So,
well, one more thing I just want to say that much of the technology is available through the built environment depends on systems integrators. So LinkSpring created a channel of approximately 250 systems integrator partners throughout North America and a few select international countries to support the built environment effectively. So again, well done.
Well done, guys. Well done for sure. All right, Kenny, what's going to be our deep dive post of the week this week? Because we got a bunch of them.
Well, I think
but we can only do one.
Well, I think what we have to do is we have to say that, you know, one of the biggest hit posts that we've ever seen of all time was the two-way, three-way valve, diverting, mixing. And the second largest post, you know, performance was on gas pressure regulators. And you did a nice little presentation from the HVAC Tech School, from Control Trends HVAC Tech School, about gas pressure regulators made easy. So tell us a little bit about that. I think that was the post of the week.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. So we got to go back to what we've been telling our community a little bit, that we're really tooling up the YouTube channel because we get more content up there quicker. So it might not always make it to the ControlTrends.com website, but so we created a playlist, if you will, called HVAC Tech School that's on the YouTube channel. Some of these make it over to Control Trends, not all of them. But yeah, the gas pressure regulators made easy. You know, how to install them, how they work. We actually take one apart so you can look at it, see how it works. So if you have any interest in gas regulators at all, and apparently there are a lot of people who do, you can check that out. It's actually on Control Trends as well as the Control Trends Smart Buildings YouTube channel. So I encourage you to subscribe to that if you haven't already. We'll put a link for that in the show notes. So that's a big one. And the 2- and 3-way valves, again, sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words, Kenny. So we know we're trying to create video content that takes some of these concepts that can be complicated and make them really simple, and we'll build off of those. So we're going to keep putting those up on the YouTube channel, and then, you know, a lot of them will make it over to the ControlTrends.com website too. But another massively hit, and this is only available on the Control Trends YouTube channel, is the midweek review, which one of the smartest guys here on the podcast does, which is Ken Sinclair. So talk about the midweek review again, Kenny, for our listeners who might not know about that, and tell them what you do on that and why they should subscribe to the YouTube channel so they can get that.
Well, I appreciate that, Eric. I didn't have makeup on that day. The makeup squad wasn't around. So, but you know what? I wanted
makeup today, are you? Because if you are, we're in big trouble.
I was just trying to say something, you know, to ease in on there, because that was a fast and furious post. And the reason why is, like you said, we had so many dates that were coming closer to windows where you had, you know, sign up by today and you would or you would forfeit the opportunity for a discount, whatever. So we had, you know, the midweek review is to give somebody 3 to 4 minute synopsis of all the industry events that are coming in the next 60 to 90 days, except for our Control Trends Awards, which is going to be February 2nd, 2020. But to mark them on your calendar, in case you're driving somewhere and you're listening to the show or whatever, and you have an opportunity, or you're listening or you're watching, but you don't have a whole lot of time, trying to give people a synopsis, a real short, sweet list of what's going on. And where it's at, and what the dates of sign up are. So, you know, I covered the Controls Con coming up May 2nd and 3rd, and Control Trends has a discount coupon there. So if you go on and register and you put in Control Trends, we have the Easy IO event coming up in Europe, and we'll be putting the post up on that too. But there's registrations, and you take advantage of them. We're going to put some other information about the travel costs and whatever, just to lure people into a different alternative vacation this year, because you kill business and pleasure in the same event. We have the Project Haystack out there in California. What's that going to be? That's the 11th through the 13th, I think, right? But that's why even I have to refer to it, because there's so much going on. And then you go, you know, the 19th through the 21st is Easy IO in Amsterdam, and then you turn around, you've got Realcomm IBCon in June 11th through the 14th.
So you're doing the conferences, but you're also doing it. And to Kenny's point, what we're trying to be is on Wednesday afternoon, you can take that, you can just click on that video, you get an update. But things like if there's a recall, if there is something going on in the industry, if there's a cybersecurity alert, something going on with Niagara or something like that, where you need to know something immediately, what we're trying to do is just make it easy for you to consume the control news you can use, right? And so Kenny does a great job of that. So it's not just conferences. It could be a new product release. It could be news you could use. And I think that's the point of it. Kenny's just trying to break it down, short, simple, sweet. You go to the YouTube channel, you click on this. Actually, if you do the YouTube channel, you just click the little alarm button, you'll be notified when this comes out. And so he can hit on that. And then obviously on ControlTrends.com, you get this show, the long-winded version.
Well, and then
we take our time and we make it happen.
Well, speaking of the long-winded version, what can Steve Jobs teach us about the smart buildings controls revolution. Now, I got a kick of the stretch you made there, but actually after watching that again, because I'd watched that before, you know, it actually did make sense about what it's all about in marketing, how, you know, it's taken for granted. It's a critical function, but it's changing, it's evolving. It was infused with social media. And if you didn't handle it right, you lost a lot of your mainstream. But today you send papers out and remember that you do so much marketing, you wouldn't even open up the envelope. You literally just took it from your inbox to the trash can. So those days have certainly changed. People don't like to take catalogs anymore, whatever. So we're seeing the thumb drive, you know, became the big thing. And even that's starting to I heard a vendor tell a group of people that were looking for they used to get thumb drives every time they had the presentation. The guy says, nope. Marketing says you got to go on our website. It's all there. There's no sense putting them into these thumb drives because as soon as we get them done, they're obsolete because they're old and antiquated, and we've added new products, and it's not serving the purpose it was intended to.
Well, listen, I encourage you to go to the website. It's about a 5-minute talk that I found that Steve Jobs did, and many consider it the greatest marketing message ever. And it led to what many consider the greatest marketing campaign ever. And like I said, rather than Kenny and I give you our take on it, I mean, it affected me enough. I just went, holy smokes, it made so much sense. And what I'm basically saying is, hey, listen to it or watch it, I should say, on Control Trends. Reach out in comments. We'd love to know what you think. But I think there's so much wisdom and just how, because he's basically addressing his stockholders and his staff, right? And it was a radical concept as he's addressing them. And you kind of can almost hear a pen drop. You're kind of going, oh, they're not going to like this. And he kind of starts out, makes a statement, and he kind of goes from there. And by the time he's done with it, you're going, man, this dude has got it right. So it's not necessarily what you think about, it's how you think about something. And I think that message carries forward to our industry. Every single one of our companies in our industry, I think, can learn something from this. So please check it out. If you check nothing else on Control Trends this week, check that out and reach out in comments. Let me know what you think, and Kenny know what you think. And hey, you know, we'd love to share it. I think, in other words, part of me putting that up there is I think this needs to be not just a post, it needs to be an ongoing dialogue. It needs to be a dialectic. There's my vocab word for the week, Kenny, that we carry forward as an industry that helps us all as we, you know, move forward in this incredible industry we're all involved in.
Right. We had one more shout out section here, and it's just our LinkedIn, you know, the folks that say good things about us on LinkedIn, and some congratulations for birthdays. Adam Polgravia from Poland. He's the Chief IoT BAS BMS HVAC executive. Says, you know, he's watching our Control Trends. We've got Travis Kerr. He had a birthday.
Yeah, I know
Mohammed
Travis.
Fawad, he had a birthday. Art Hicks had a birthday. Darlene Pope changed jobs. She now works with WeWork. So
Darlene and Lindsay Baker together? Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
You got two of the brightest women on the planet together. Oh man, we want to come to WeWorks.
We got work anniversaries.
Darlene, holler.
Well, you know what? She was always she fast tracked everything. You know, she was really smart. She was just a great speaker. I remember how we got involved with her. She went to work with Jones
JJ Jones Lang LaSalle.
Yeah, and so she just she's burning the ground.
We'll probably see her. Hopefully, see her and Lindsay at Haystack Connect. But hey, seriously, that would be a great show. Lindsay and Darlene on at the same time.
All right, then real quickly, we have work anniversaries for Eddie Turner, Stacy Ulrey, and Richard Satchel. So,
well, there you go. There you go.
So there you
All
go.
right. Well, listen, last big thing is definitely check out the EasyIO collateral that we just put up. Man, it is going to be quite the event in Amsterdam. Kenny and I will be there. But I think if you look at the collateral we just posted on the site, you're going to be just amazed. EasyIO just does things top hat, and this is going to be an amazing conference.
It's going to be a really great show. It's going to be product road mapping. It's going to be networking. It's going to be an exciting
partying. It's going to be a tax deduction. It's going to be partying because Mad Mike Marston and his buddies. What's
Johan Schackenbach.
No, I know Johan Rockström. What's the big
Guido
tall guy?
Guido Van Erp.
Guido von Ert, man, I tell you what, it's like hanging out with Russell Brandt, man.
But they got a whole new staff. I mean, Johan has retold his whole European division, and we're going to meet some new people.
It's going to be cool. It's going to be great. Be there or what? Be square, right? All right, there you go. All right, so there you go. That's another week on Control Talk Now, your smart buildings video cast and podcast. A special thanks to our guest this week, Ken Sinclair. Be sure to check out automatedbuildings.com. The April 1st issue is up, and it is so worth reading. So with that, Kenny Smyers, remember, be bold, stay in control. I'm doing my Arnold Schwarzenegger voice, or Batman, and stay relevant.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. See, they put that chip in my head already, so now I'm like a cyborg.